What is going on, guys? Jack here, and welcome to ForTheFans, the 23rd of November 2015. In today's show, we talk about Vardy's scoring record, the almost season for Liverpool, and what might be the almost season for Villa. Let's get right into the show.
Hello there, listeners. Welcome back to For The Fans. It is week 13. We've actually got the week right. Boys, how are we? Callum and Jack are back with me. Welcome.
Hello.
Hi.
That was very awkwardly in sync, but I appreciate it.
I didn't know who wanted to go first. It's a very British problem,
alphabetical
isn't it?
Should be Callum, really. Callum, how are you?
I am good, Ben. Hello.
Even as an Aston Villa fan, you're still doing all right after this weekend?
I don't know.
Okay, good. Jack?
I loved this weekend. Great weekend.
I agree. I
love football again. I love it. Yeah, like football.
Good. Well, if you like football, if you are new to the podcast, it does get better. So then, as ever, Ben's weekly feature of the week.
Ben's weekly feature of the week.
You know nothing about it so far, right?
I don't know whether to be terrified as usual. I feel like one week you're just going to be like, right, you get gunged if you get the wrong answer, and there's just going to be someone stood behind me.
I'd love that. Get Dave Benson-Phillips. I reckon we could hire him. I reckon our budget stretches as far as Dave Benson-Phillips as well. I'd love to get your own back. Anyway, right then, gentlemen, once again, it is a versus feature competition. The name of this week's feature is How Old Is He? Right?
Oh, well, I was thinking there was really like a really ringy name to it, but how old is he? Seems like
I was trying to use the word age. I was trying to use the word age, but I couldn't work it out. Maybe it's a new age. Anyway, I don't know. Right. So we've got a list of 10 players, or a list of 10 different options, and what we're going to do is you're going to tell me who's older out of 2 different players. Oh. Good feature,
I like
right?
This.
Good feature.
Great feature.
This took me literally an hour, so you better appreciate this. Who would like to go first in the 8? And really, there's no it doesn't really matter this week.
Alphabetical order, so Callum can.
Right, Callum
go first.
You are going first. There's no time limit, but obviously be reasonable. You've only got to say who's older. Right then, number 1, ex-Aston Villa player Joe Cole and Ashley Cole. Who's older?
Ooh, I
know the answer.
I think Ashley Cole is older.
Incorrect.
Really?
Jack, what would you have said honestly?
I was going to say Joe Cole.
Okay, Joe Cole is 1 month older, so no point.
Oh, I see how these are.
Is this how this is going to go? Is this going to be a 50-50 chance on every single one?
No, it's not always 50-50. It's not always like that close. Neymar and Paul Pogba.
Neymar's older.
It's not you.
I thought Jack was...
Thought we were taking in turns. We'll do alternate.
Let's take it in
turns.
Okay,
we'll do alternate, shall we? Who did you say was older, Jack?
Neymar.
All right, point, Jack.
Yes.
That's not even going to have to do typing.
Neymar's 24, Pogba's 22.
Incorrect, but I'll take it anyway.
He's not that
old. 13 months. There's 13-month gap. Okay, Callum, back to you, apparently. Kasper Schmeichel and Hugo Lloris. Who's older?
Ooh, see, I always imagine Kasper Schmeichel being young just because of who he is. I think who is older? Lloris.
Incorrect. Kasper Schmeichel, 29, Lloris 28.
Oh my, he's 29.
Unlucky. I know that's old, isn't it? Jack, back to you apparently. Now you've come up with a new format.
We've rejigged the show today.
Okay, Wayne Rooney and Vincent Kompany.
Vincent Kompany's older.
Incorrect. Wayne Rooney is 6 months older.
I said it so confidently as well. I thought confidence was half of the challenge.
Gareth Bale and Mesut Ozil. Kino.
I don't know.
Great feature.
Well, a great feature in the sense that no one knows the answers.
I've got
Gareth Bale.
Wait, I've got to ask Ben.
Incorrect.
Ben, do you have a calendar at home that just has footballers' birthdays marked
like
on
I say,
That's what I'm imagining right now.
This took me an hour. Right, incorrect. The correct answer is Mesut Ozil.
If someone's
by
not
9
doing
months.
that yet, they really should do that. Like a calendar where you tear off a page every day and it has a different footballer's birthday and a fact about them.
Can we do this? Interrupting the feature. You've already changed the
quiz,
format.
The quiz or the actual idea.
Whoa,
I think
not a quiz, not a bloody quiz. Right, Jack. Eden Hazard or De Bruyne?
Hazard's older.
7 months older. Point to Jack.
Hazard's 27, De Bruyne's 26?
No, both 24.
Oh, well, that's awkward, isn't
You
it?
lose your point. No, you don't. You don't. Callum.
Hello.
Memphis Depay and Raheem Sterling.
Memphis is older.
By 10 months.
Yes, I've got one.
Keno's got a point.
Yeah.
Currently
He's on the
2-1.
board.
Currently 2-1.
He's not getting good yet.
He's not getting good. Jack. Juan Mata and Cesc Fabregas.
Fabregas is older.
10 months, correct.
Look, I'm just naming one of the names.
Callum,
and saying
you are doing that. Callum, you ready?
Yeah.
Diego Costa and Joe Hart.
Ooh.
I know this one. Probably don't.
I'm not. I want to say. I think Costa's quite a lot older than he looks. I'm going to say Costa.
I don't. I think it's the other way around. I think Costa's 26, Hart's 27.
Okay.
13-month gap, but it's 28 and 27. So correct answer. So no one gets the point. But yeah, you're wrong.
Was I right though? With
the final section in Callum's section, which has now been changed, is for me. Who is it now? It's
Jack.
It's me.
Jack. For
This
me,
schedule works
Jack.
great.
Firmino and Coutinho. It's not Firmino, everyone, but actually, Jamie Redknapp said Firmino at the weekend.
He did. I love that.
Yeah.
I've heard a few different pundits say it. Firmino's older. Firmino's 26. I want to
Stop
say.
guessing the ages. Just say
Can I
the
just
names.
say, I think my issue here is I'm playing for a Football Manager Liverpool save where I'm in the future. So I'm getting all these ages.
So he may
from
well
that
be 26,
save.
but he's 24. Coutinho's 23. Has an 8-month gap. But you do get the point, Jack.
I'm
Well
in my
done.
second season, so it makes sense.
Cheating, really, considering you shouldn't have done that section. Anyway, Keno, back to you, my friend. Are we back to you?
Yes.
Yeah, we are.
All right. Schweinsteiger and Santi Cazorla.
Schweinsteiger.
Only by 4 months, though.
That's
31
less
or
than I
30.
thought.
Jack. Harry Kane and Romelu Lukaku.
Lukaku.
They're both 22, but Lukaku is older. There you
Yes.
are. Point. Callum. Sergio Aguero and Alexis Sanchez.
I think Aguero's older than Sanchez.
Correct. Aguero's 27. Sanchez is 26. Point for Callum. Jack.
Yep.
Yannick Bolasie and Victor Moses.
Victor Moses is older.
Incorrect. Bolasie's 2 years older.
That's quite a lot as
Well,
well.
that's a bad
2
mistake
years
on that
older.
one.
No
The thing
points.
is, though, with both those players, I couldn't tell you how old they are. I couldn't even guess.
That's why I put him in the feature. Callum. Christian Eriksen and Oscar.
Ooh. I mean, Oscar looks about 10 and Ericsson looks about 15. I think
One's
Oscar.
22, one's 23.
I
They're
think
not. Jack, you're
That's
wrong
right.
every
Stop.
time, mate.
Stop trying to confuse me. I think Oscar's actually older than Ericsson.
24-year-old Oscar.
Yeah.
23-year-old Christian Eriksen.
I'm
Keno.
just going to leave now. It's a good job we'd have to get the
point.
ages right.
Yeah, no, you get double points. You'd never get double points. Okay, Jack, back on you. Giroud and Payet.
Payet's older.
29-year-old Olivier Giroud is older than Dimitri Payet, who's 28.
After a slow
No
start,
points.
I've come back into it.
Just
I'm on
scores on the
4 or
doors at this
5.
point. Scores on the doors. Keno, you've got 4 points. Jack, you've got 5 points.
Oh,
As
how
it-
many questions are left?
As we move, we've both got 2 left. As we move to Callum Keane.
Drama.
Keno, Morgan Schneidlin and Ander Herrera play for the same team.
Yeah.
Do you want to know what the difference is?
Yes.
3 months.
Oh no, that's a 50-50.
Oh, that doesn't help, does it?
I
You
think
monster.
Herrera is 3 months older than Morgan Schneiderlin.
You are correct.
Yes.
That is an
So
excellent.
much pressure on me
The
now.
scores are level.
I
Jack,
can read a face.
Jack, Martin Di Michaelis and John Terry. Do you want to know the gap?
Go on.
8 days.
Oh, excellent. So I mean, I've got a perfectly legitimate chance of getting this one. If I get this right, though, Keno can only draw with me.
Correct.
Do I get a point for that?
No. Stop trying to take over the feature.
I'll go with John Terry being younger. So Di Michaelis is older.
John Terry is 34 days older. Well, no, he's 8 days older than Di Michaelis. Incorrect!
Oh my god.
Oh my god. Keno,
I've choked.
Keno, this puts you in the lead, Keno. Yaya Toure and Wesley Hoolahan.
Two of the most talented footballers in the Premier
I was going to say, yeah, they're good at different things. Toure is younger, so Hoolahan.
Wesley Hoolahan is 33. Do you think Toure is younger or older?
I think he's younger than Hoolahan.
Correct.
Yes.
He is. So, as we go into it then, so Keno's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Jack, have you got 5 still? So to get this, to take us to a decider.
I just don't want to do a Cazorla. I don't want to slip as I take this last penalty.
Okay, we'll talk about that later. Jack, are you ready for this?
It's going to be like one day in it, or they're going to be the same age, aren't they?
Mike Williamson and Pierre Mertesacker.
Oh, blimey. What kind of question is this?
It's a great question. Mike Williamson on Pierre Mertesacker.
I mean, I'll just say Mertesacker's older because I don't have a clue, so I might as well guess.
I don't think
Newcastle
that's
United's
true.
Mike Williamson is 32, Jack. How old?
Mertesacker's 33.
Mertesacker is 31.
Oh.
The points go to Callum Keane.
My heart's just been broken in a million pieces.
I did have a tie break, actually. I did have a tie break.
What was that?
The tie break was you were both to name who you think the oldest player is, and the winner who gets the oldest player wins.
In the Premier League? Or...
Yeah, you can both say your answers in 5, 4, 3,
Can I have
2,
just a second to think
1.
about it?
Yeah, hold
No,
on.
I gave you 5 seconds to think about it.
That wasn't very long to think about.
Okay. Okay, you can both, as soon as you've got the name, just say it out loud between you. Go.
Richard Wright.
Wait, he's not in the Premier
Is
League.
he still at City?
He is. He plays for City. No, he plays for City.
Does he still play for City?
It's a fair answer, Jack.
Thanks, man.
Oh, well, he's probably right then.
Well, you get a quick guess, Callum.
I'm
5,
thinking...
4, 3.
I don't
2,
know. I'd say Richard
1.
Wright as well, but I didn't even know he's still
Okay,
playing.
well, Callum, you've won this week's quiz.
Yes.
Richard Wright is the 4th oldest player in the Premier League.
That's not too bad. Actually, can I just apologise to the viewers for the dramatic no that I screamed? That will be toned down in post for you.
Older players are Kelvin Davis of Southampton, Shay Given, now of Stoke City, and the oldest player in the Premier League plays for Leicester, Mark Schwarzer. There we are then.
I love the fact that there's just a moment of silence there.
Yeah, it was like
trying to think.
I felt like Sue Barker on Question of Sport there, I'll be honest. So that the to the end, and I'll be honest, boys, that was one of my better features, I think, because I took some time with it.
It was quite tense, I feel.
Ben's feature of the week. Thanks everyone. Can we get a clap? Okay.
Not from me.
Just me. You won. Okay then, so obviously there was some Premier League action this week, and that's where we usually begin. So there was a big match on the Saturday, Jack, and I think we'll talk about this. We'll let Callum just mull over that Aston Villa result. Manchester City 1, Liverpool 4. It was a demolition job.
Sounds sweeter every time you say it.
I'll set Manchester City 1, Liverpool 4.
I'm getting tingling feelings all over my body.
We don't want to hear any more about those. Tell us about the match.
What a game. Loved it. It reminded me of the almost season a few years ago. It was that kind of performance. It reminded me a bit of, I think it was Arsenal at home.
Yeah, I felt the same.
It had that vibe to it.
Is that what that season will forever be known as? The almost season.
What else
I don't like to refer to
it. Can we? We can't call it the slip season.
The slippy season.
We can't call it that. Yeah, the almost season. I think that I would go with the almost season.
It's quite a respectful way of saying it, isn't it?
Yeah,
really?
The nearly men.
But it reminded me of that, and it was really good to watch, and I was just happy. I was happy watching a football match, and that doesn't happen very often of late.
No, I was equally pleased. As a neutral, Callum.
You should try being a Villa fan, Jack, if you don't want to be happy watching a football match.
No, Jack. Sorry, Keno, coming to you.
You get happy over a 2-1 win against Bournemouth on the opening day of the season. I mean,
I thought they were European contenders after that.
The pain of losing is numb now. I don't feel it anymore.
We'll talk about it more later. Liverpool then didn't start with a striker, Callum, and that was a big sort of. Were you shocked by that, or were you just sort of like, oh, this is what you're doing? Because we did the same thing against Chelsea.
Well, it's true, but they did have Sturridge back and Benteke on the bench. It was more surprising when you looked at the bench that Liverpool went with, but it worked fantastically. It worked really, really well, and I think a lot of people were saying how slippery and sort of shaky City's defence look. And obviously Kompany was out and Otamendi was on the bench, which is a bit weird. But I think one of the reasons they looked so bad was because it was so difficult to pick up the front three of Liverpool. Coutinho, obviously a lot has been said about Coutinho and Firmino and the way they were linking up. But Lallana was really good as well. Like, I think that was one of his best performances I can remember for Liverpool this season. He looked really, really good.
I think one of the things with Liverpool is, and one of the criticisms I think I'd certainly throw at this Liverpool attack at the moment, is that it's always quite predictable. There's games you watch and you think, I know exactly how this is going, and if we concede, we're not going to win. It's as simple as that. And with the front four as it was, we sort of had Lallana and Coutinho, and then Milner was one side, Moreno was getting up on the left, we had Shan, who was just roaming all over the place.
Shan was brilliant, by the way.
It was interesting to see us not be that predictable, because you didn't actually know, like, they didn't know who to mark. You had Fernando sat in front of a back two of Mangala, who just looked. Can I say something? And this may be a little bit controversial because of obviously the events that surrounded it, but him and Sanya made the mistake for the first goal, and I think the Marseille's been played before the game. The emotional attachment to that actually affected them, and no one's really daring to mention it.
Yeah,
but they both looked like, the camera obviously zoomed in on the two French guys, and they looked uncomfortable. They didn't look happy, and I think some of the best teams play in sort of in that sort of happy go get 'em attitude, and Mangala and Sanya didn't look. Well, they both made errors in the first goal, which Mangala then puts in his own net, obviously. But it was sad, and part of me, I was pleased Liverpool had scored, but I felt sad about it.
As though the emotion of the whole.
Maybe I'm reading too much into it. Maybe that's not the case.
I think it's.
But it did. Go on.
I think it's a really good point, actually, and yeah, you're right. No one's mentioned it, and it's almost like the emotion of the occasion. Obviously, the events of almost 2 weeks ago were kind of used against them for the first 10 minutes of the game. I mean, you could be wrong, but it's an interesting way to think about it.
Yeah, I don't want to. Obviously, it may well have nothing to do with it, but it just felt like those two players in particular felt, because it was very early as well. I think it was quite quickly after the minute silence after the Marseillaise, and I think they may well have thought about that. Apart from that, I thought City looked. It was strange, Jack. They didn't look their normal selves at all.
They looked really rattled. It was Liverpool didn't give them kind of space to play in, and it was weird some of the change of perhaps that City made in the midfield. I thought Fernando. I feel like Fernando and Torre just Fernando. Was it Fernando and Torre?
Well, it was Fernando and Torre. Yeah.
It just didn't really work. I know Fernandinho's kind of been a staple of that midfield, and I think he was an underappreciated player. I kind of think the real sign, I guess, that was the losing battle was the fact that at half-time Fernandinho and Delph both came on.
That's true.
Torre went off as well, didn't he? Torre was one of the players to go off, which I was really surprised at.
It's interesting, actually, that you mentioned Fernandinho, because arguably City's best performance this season was away at Sevilla in the Champions League, where they put in that first half was one of the best halves of football I've seen all year, and that was with a kind of a really solid midfield three of Torre, Fernandinho and Fernando. He had all three of them in there in that match, and it often seems that when he kind of tries to attack a little bit more, they lose that kind of protection, and particularly if you're not starting with your best two centre halves and you've got Mangala and Demichelis in there, you could do with a little bit more cover, and they looked so open at times, and because of the way that Liverpool were almost playing sort of false nine without a striker, they found that gap between the defensive midfield and the centre halves really well, and particularly in the first half, and that was one of the reasons that led to the 3 goals in quick succession.
It's been a criticism, hasn't it, Torre, of if he's right in a midfield with one more other player, or if he needs 2 other midfielders in there with him. In this game,
I think it's coming.
Go on. Sorry.
Well, just quickly, I think it's coming to the point where he does need 2. He can't do it with 1 anymore.
But that means, and I think this was the big thing, wasn't it? Really, that means that Pellegrini has to drop one of Navas, Sterling, and De Bruyne, and you would assume it would be Navas based on how much money they've spent on the other two.
Well, Navas was the one subbed off, wasn't he?
Navas and Torre went off. They brought on two more sort of athletic midfielders, and in the second half, they did look a lot more secure. It looked like, and there was a large part of that second half where I was worried about it. I was thinking, dearie me, we are getting overrun here. And it was just that midfield three were just so dominant all of a sudden, and Lucas and Emre Can were all over the shop, not sure what to do. But it was challenging. Jack, on the pressing that Klopp's got Liverpool doing, it looks good, doesn't it?
It does look good, and I think it can be kind of credited, I think, with a few of the goals Liverpool got. I do feel like players like Coutinho and Firmino, and even Lallana to an extent, are players where I feel they play best when you don't really designate them a position. You just kind of say, fill this area, and float around to the spaces that you have ahead of you, and that kind of works with this pressing game. There wasn't really a rigidity, I guess, between those front three men. And I think that was a big part of Liverpool's goals. And the pressing kind of facilitates that style of play in a lot of ways. And it's particularly the fact you're pressing as high as they were without a recognised striker. It was very distinct, and I think there was a few comparisons drawn between, I think it was a Dortmund performance in the Champions League.
Yeah, against City.
And it really did have an air of that about it.
Obviously, though, they're missing. If you're trying to compare it to that Dortmund thing, which is a good comparison, because I remember that game when they played away at City. Obviously, they had Lewandowski, and that raises the question. With Sturridge and Benteke on the bench, do you think that could spell maybe the end for one of those two at the club? If obviously you had such good results with the false nine, do you think Klopp might persevere with that? And if so, might that mean that one of those two might be sidelined a bit more?
It'll be interesting to see what we decide to do, because we've got two strikers. One we've spent a lot of money on, one we've seen fantastic things from, Daniel Sturridge. So it's hard to say to both of them, oh, actually, we know you're here now, but we actually need to get rid of one of you. But at the same time, who do you sacrifice in that midfield? I guess the obvious option, again, based on performance and money spent, Lallana is the guy you're looking at and sort of going, do you fit this now? Like, I don't know what system going forward Liverpool play. Do they have to change it to play two up front, and then you have Firmino and Coutinho sort of floating in behind a Sturridge and Benteke, or do we do as we sort of predicted a few weeks ago? Do they just put Sturridge on one of the sides and put Benteke through the middle, and then have a Coutinho, Firmino, I've done it. Well, thanks, Jack. And then
Coutinho did it earlier as well.
It's going to be very interesting to see how Klopp plays that.
I think a lot of people forget that Firmino at Hoffenheim, as much as he played as an attacking midfielder, he did occasionally play as either a second striker or once or twice up front on his own.
That's true.
He's done it for Brazil as well.
I kind of wonder if the position that we saw Firmino occupy at the weekend is the kind of position where you might see the likes of Sturridge or Benteke be forced to play. I don't know how well perhaps Benteke suits that role, but I could see Sturridge doing something there. I think he's very capable when he's fit.
The problem with that, based on how well Firmino played it,
exactly.
Do you really want a player? Do you want to try and teach Daniel Sturridge to become a false nine floating forward? I don't.
Personally,
it's not how you get the best out of him.
I would really like to see. I know it's politically quite difficult because, like you say, the fact you spent a lot of money on Benteke and Sturridge is a big player at the club. I would like to see you play with those three up front for a few games and see how it works and try and persevere with that system. Because I think in a league where counter-attacking, especially at home, where teams sit back on you almost all the time when they're playing away, and obviously you've not had great results at home, I think playing with the false nine and dropping off a back four might actually be a good way to get those results at home that you've been missing. So I'd quite like to see Klopp persevere with that false nine. Obviously that has ramifications with regards to your strikers. It also might help Lallana when he plays for England, because you were so quick in the transition sort of period from defence to attack after you won the ball back against City. That could actually give an aspect to Lallana's game that a lot of people didn't really think he had, as of a few months ago, which is kind of pace, running with the ball, and quickly moving play on. So I'd like to see him persevere with it, and it could be the answer to your problems at home.
See, I wonder if this is the system that Liverpool are going to play away, but then in kind of games at home they might drop one of the three kind of centre mids, either Milner, Lucas or Can, and play a striker ahead of them.
Possibly.
That's the kind of system you might see Liverpool start to deploy.
What we're not factoring in here, gents, is that Liverpool need more than three players. to do this job. You can't ask Firmino, Coutinho and Lallana week in, week out and in Europe to play this, because they literally can't. Coutinho barely finished a game last season. Lallana looks knackered after about 70.
Firmino hasn't finished a game this year either. Well, he's not played a full 90 minutes.
Well, no, exactly. So Liverpool are going to have to find numerous ways of playing, and Dortmund did it, and I could see Klopp sort of bringing a similar style here, because he's going to have to.
Noting Coutinho's injury, I don't know if I missed the papers this morning, so I don't know how bad it was or on Sunday, but he obviously went off with a hamstring injury. I don't know how serious that was, but that might spell an issue there. Well,
I think that comes into what I'm saying, that they need more than 3. So I don't know if he's going to buy another one, like another similar player in the same mould as these sort of creative attacking midfielders. I can't see Shan playing up there. Like, where does Ibe fit into this? There's a lot of question marks, but it's quite interesting. It's not a negative.
No,
it's more positive in what they can actually do.
Yeah, it's a good problem for Klopp to have right now.
Speaking of teams, though, have you got any more to say on? Sorry, I'll let you carry on. Has anyone got any more to say on City, Liverpool?
No, I think that's.
I'd say for City, they can't afford to get too bogged down in this result. I think it was one of those games where Liverpool came in looking like buzzy little bees in the final third.
Yeah,
buzzy little bees.
They tend to have these kind of funny results a few times a season, and then they also tend to bounce back quite well after them. After they lost to Spurs earlier in the season, they went on 5 wins in a row.
Can I just explain the buzzy little bees thing? Because I feel like Ben wants to rip into me about that.
No, I just like the description, actually.
I just think with Liverpool, it was quite a team performance. It was one where they were all working for one another in the hive.
Goodness.
And they're all, going around doing their
designated
tasks.
No, you mentioned the hive. I can't be bothered. You mentioned the hive.
Jordan Hive.
Talking. Very good. Don't take this off the rails, Callum. I'll warn you again. Let's move on to a team that looked very good at the weekend, and have looked very good for a long time now, and really, for my money, aren't getting the credit they deserve, although it started to happen this weekend. Tottenham Hotspur 4, West Ham 1, and Spurs. Callum, you like them, don't you? You're enjoying Tottenham this season.
I think that they're the most well-rounded, balanced team in the Premier League. Actually, I think they're playing, and they're arguably playing the best football as well. And it took a really good performance from arguably the best team in the league at the moment to stop West Ham, who have looked really good away from home all year. Their home form's been questionable, but away, as we've seen, they've got really good results against big teams. And for the first 20 minutes of the game, it looked like that was going to happen again, and Spurs were kind of started to knock on the door, and they didn't have a shot on target for the first 25 minutes. And suddenly, I don't know if it wasn't obvious that Pochettino made a kind of tactical change, but suddenly it just opened right up, and Spurs look so solid at the back that it allows their attacking players and their really well-balanced midfield to go at teams away and at home. And I think that's one of the key things, actually. They've drawn a lot of games, which sort of it shows that their defence is strong, but also they can really open teams up at home. They've done it to City, they've done it to West Ham now, and Harry Kane started scoring again. He's got 8 and 7. So
one season wonder, mate. Season wonder. No, rubbish. Don't rate him. Jack?
I like him.
Are you supposed to come in there and defend him like some sort of
terrible
bodyguard?
Sorry, I've done enough of that on Twitter, I feel. So.
It's interesting that a lot of, after this, and obviously Spurs and Liverpool both won 4-1 this weekend, so a lot of people jumped to conclusions comparing Klopp's sort of style with Pochettino. And then when asked after the game about that, he kind of sort of said, oh, no, I don't. He was quite taken aback by it, which is quite interesting considering that they both, on the surface, have a kind of big pressing game. I think what's different is that Spurs, they remind me more of like the Pep kind of style pressing, where they
value possession a lot as well.
I was going to say they could win the ball back to keep the ball, whereas Liverpool seem to win the ball back to then go into a transition to attack.
Exactly.
It's yeah, you're right, because Guardiola's Barcelona team, which is what I'm referencing, it does the same thing at Bayern, but Barcelona would rush to get the ball back, and then you wouldn't sit for 5 minutes, and you go, right then, I guess we have to try and win that back. And Spurs did a similar thing to West Ham, whereas we mentioned Liverpool's pressing and Klopp. You get the ball back, and then you think, right, where can we exploit? And that's the difference in the pressing.
I think with Klopp's teams, his pressing is all about forcing mistakes, whereas I think the Pochettino pressing is a lot more about just getting possession back and then using it themselves, kind of thing.
Yeah, and
it's been able to control a game, isn't it?
Yeah, and they controlled the game really, really well for the first half against West Ham. And what's also really impressive is the fact that they kind of have a very English. I know it sounds bad, but a lot of homegrown sort of English core to the team, and I think that's what gives the midfield a lot of balance. You have Dyer and Ali, who have obviously translated that partnership.
Can I just say, Ali was fantastic in this match.
He was
good for England as well.
Yeah, he's in a great run of form, and they also have Rose and Walker, who also had really good games. I think Danny Rose and actually both of them have come on quite a lot in the last year.
A lot of question marks over both of them, I think, in the last 3 or 4 years.
Yeah,
because they were expected to be sort of the next young English talents to come through and just nail down England.
They're expected to be the next Neville and Cole.
Well, yeah, a little bit like that, and they just never have. It's just never happened for them. And Nathaniel Klein's overtaken on one side, and Luke Shaw seems to have overtaken on another. And it just seems like those two players have. It's almost like they've forgotten about England for a little bit.
I was about to say, it's quite easy to forget about them.
But this year, and I think this goes with just how solid Spurs have been. It's kind of like an ultimate team because they have the Belgian sort of centre back core of Vertonghen and Alderweireld, and they have a very kind of you've got Kane and you have obviously Dyer and Ali, and then the English fullbacks, and it kind of works well. And there's obviously a lot of sort of chemistry. There's a good team spirit, and I think actually in the case of those two fullbacks, Pochettino's taught them to be a little bit more pragmatic with how they go forward. They're not overcommitting as much now, not being as naive when they overlap. I think that's contributed to the solidity that Spurs have shown and why they haven't lost a game since the opening day. And even that one was an own goal from Walker. So they've looked so solid.
It's interesting what you say about the English club, because I'm looking at the Tottenham bench. They've got Mason, Trippier, British, I guess it would be a better example. They've got Mason, Trippier, Townsend, Onomar, I think he's a local to London, Tom Carroll, and Ben Davies, obviously he's Welsh. And it goes through their team. And three of the players that came on, all English boys, that came on. And it's fascinating to see how Pochettino, because he did a similar thing at Southampton, and I think that's why it's interesting. He's not only gone to Tottenham and got them playing good football, but he's doing it in a similar style to how he did it at Southampton.
Go on, Jack.
I was going to say, I feel like Tottenham will worry me as a Liverpool fan because I think they could be the big rivals for the top 4 spot. I think they have equalled their Premier League record as a club at going unbeaten in 12 games now after this result.
No,
so they're in hot form.
I'd be worried if I was Arsenal or United or City. If they start slipping up, you've got Tottenham that look very good. You've got Liverpool that, if they come into form.
This is the thing, and
Leicester are top.
This was one thing that I did want to mention, actually. I think that Spurs could win the league this year. They've got one issue that they need.
Sorry, Callum. Future Ben, for when they finish 4th, please clip that for the next sort of beginning of the season, what we said last year.
I think
it was episode 13. Remember that, Ben.
Basically, I think the top 4 is the minimum that Tottenham should be looking to achieve this year because they have one issue, which obviously I think we all kind of know in lack of striking options that could be easily addressed in January because they don't need to buy a striker to kind of upstage Harry Kane. They don't need to buy someone who is better than him. They just need to buy someone who can come in, not cause a lot of ripples in the dressing room and stand in if needed. And that kind of player is quite readily available in January. They don't need to sign a superstar.
But who do they need? Well, Jack, you've whispered Charlie Austin. What sort of player could go into Tottenham now and succeed? Who is the guy?
Adebayor.
I mean,
if you're going to be daft.
A player. I think Austin would be quite difficult, but you could probably get away with not giving him many games in his first 6 months at the club. I think if that went on, then he might question it a little bit more. You probably could get away with signing someone like Charlie Austin in January for a good fee, considering his contract's up, I think.
I don't think he'd move because he might, in the back of his mind, be arrogant enough to think that, do you know what? If I get a Premier League move, I want to make sure I'm scoring, and I'm in the Euro conversation.
Well, no, it's
and if he comes in as a second choice at Tottenham.
I agree with that, and it's just a thought. But so a player like that is not unreachable in January, is my point. And Spurs could easily address some of those things, and if they could do that, I think they could have a really good shot at winning the title because, as we'll mention a little bit later, obviously Leicester are top. No team has been top at this point with a lower points tally than I think actually the Villa in '98. So it's been a long time since we've had this kind of low total at the top of the league.
I like to believe that's like Villa's high point in their Premier League time. Like that's the thing that all the fans
I was trying to get away with that.
Did you get a trophy for that? Or?
No.
Oh, okay.
Well, I think we got the Intertoto Cup that year, but
That's a curse. That was a curse, not a trophy.
Just on that point, I was looking at the Premier League table this year. I can't believe how close it is.
Yeah.
It's one of those ones where if you're playing Football Manager and you're like mid-table, you're a Crystal Palace on 19 points, only 9 points behind the team who are top, you're sat there going, could win the league still at the moment.
Well, I think because Chelsea are 15th as well, you do kind of... It's like a concertina effect. Because Chelsea are there, you feel like every team above Chelsea and below the top 4 are very close.
It's like they're all in fifth.
They're not that close.
It's like they're all in fifth.
Like because everyone, if you think, well, if Chelsea can get out of there, then I'm looking at Swansea there. They could potentially start a Watford. Watford have got a chance, I think
the thing is, there's not been a gap emerge. Like very often by this point in the season, there's a gap that emerges. It might just be a top 2. It might be a top 3. It might even be 5 teams, with 4 or 5 points just ahead.
Chelsea were about 7 points clear last year by this time.
Yeah. I don't want to say anything too early here, deluded Liverpool fan, but I look at the games Liverpool have played already this season, and I look at the fact we're only 8 points behind Leicester. I don't think you can say any team below, from Liverpool upwards. Okay, there's Everton and Southampton there, but I just think looking at how Liverpool have played so far, I don't think Liverpool can be discounted as a title.
And that is why I think Spurs have such a good chance this year rather than any other year. Really, obviously they have to finish above Arsenal, which they haven't done in Youngs.
Hello, voice of reason here. Hi, listeners. Tottenham and Liverpool won't be winning the league. I appreciate the opinions of Jack and Keno, but Tottenham and Liverpool won't be winning the league because their squads just aren't strong enough. Thank you.
Future Jack.
Well,
if Tottenham or Liverpool win the league, please cut that clip.
It's gone from
episode 13
to Future Ben and Future Jack. Oh, Future Keno, I hope you're still with us after Villa's season.
I don't want to think about Future Keno at the moment.
We'll do a championship special.
West Brom 2, Arsenal 1.
Well, yes, you're right. It is West Brom 2, Arsenal 1. And surprising, really, considering West Brom are 12th. And that's higher than I thought they should be at this point. Considering when I've seen them play,
they're very, very dull.
I don't know. I want to whisper it because I don't want to insult. We very rarely talk about West Brom, so when we do, I don't want to just.
I'm quite fine with insulting Albion fans.
But I'm surprised they're doing this well. Actually,
can I just ask, when did James McLean join West Brom? When did that happen?
If it wasn't this summer, it was last summer.
Yeah,
so
the summer before.
I don't know where you've been.
Well, that's what I'm wondering. I just didn't know he still was around. He had a little while, didn't he, at Wigan, and then he vanished. And now I've just seen that he was man of the match.
It was this summer, I believe.
Okay,
I'll
that
double check,
makes a little bit more sense.
I'm pretty sure it was this summer. Yeah,
I don't want
to. June the 22nd.
I don't want to disrespect West Brom fans here,
but he's about to.
Let's just enjoy this result for what it is. But I'm surprised they're as high as they are. But at the same time, I'm looking at it now, thinking, are they going to go down? I don't think they will because I think there's worse teams below them. But it's one of those things where,
isn't it? Tony Pulis effect.
It is the Tony Pulis effect.
Do you know what I mean? It's one of those weird situations where. What does Pulis do? What is his secret? He seems to get something out of nothing.
He's a very funny manager because, and the Baggies are having the same thing that Stoke had at the end of his run. That Pulis kind of guarantees a very particular type of sort of purgatory where a team will sit in between 16th and 10th and just never leave. And they will never...
And they'll enjoy it for what it is.
Yeah, and if you just want to sit in that little bracket, then Pulis is your man. But if you want to go any further than that, there is no point, because there are severe limits onto what a Pulis team can do, as the Albion is showing.
And as Stoke decided
as
well. They were like, yeah, we love this mid-table thing, but really, Tony, it's not... I love your hats, but apart from that, we're struggling here, aren't we?
To be fair, Arsenal have been completely FM'd in this game. They've lost 2-1 with 73% of possession against a West Brom team who had one shot on target.
I think what
true.
The biggest thing from this game really is not so much the result, which can, like you say, those kind of games can
Great
happen.
Result for West Brom, enjoy it.
Yeah, it's more about the injury problems that Arsenal have now got, because I've got the list here that Coquelin's just been ruled out for 2 months, which is arguably the most important one of this list, which I'm about to say. Ramsey...
We'll see, won't we? We will see. Actually, just on that, it'll be interesting to see how big a part he plays. I think we're about to find out, is what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting. Obviously, Flamini's still there, and Flamini will no doubt now play
got
that
Arteta too.
I don't think they offer.
Arsenal fans hate him.
Arteta got a knock after this game too.
No, I was about to say he got injured because he came off for Coquelin in the 14th minute, and then he was subbed off just in the second half for
He was
Flamini.
playing absolutely horrendous.
He
so
was.
I don't know if that was a point.
But
going on.
if you think about that, Coquelin offers a dynamism that arguably Flamini and Arteta don't give. But they're also missing Ramsey, Wilshere, Oxlade-Chamberlain, Walcott, and Rosicky as well, which people forget about. They have a huge, and this is the thing. From where 6 months ago people were talking about Arsenal arguably have too many midfielders at that same point, they're now almost out of them. They've got a massive, and they usually have this crisis towards the end of the season, and that usually scuppers their chances of winning the title again. But they've had it now. It'll be interesting to see if they can get a few of those players back before Christmas and try and make up the gap that they might lose.
It's always the FA Cup, isn't there, for them?
It's always the FA Cup.
They're going for the treble now, aren't they? 3 years in a row.
Well, yeah, good luck to them.
I'd be going for that instead at this point.
On the game, though, Giroud got another goal, and we won't talk about it this week because they've lost, but I think on a week where they win again and Giroud scores a couple, we have to talk about actually if he's as big a problem as everyone highlights. Because I'm not so sure anymore. And Cazorla missed the penalty because he had a little fall over and managed to give away an indirect free kick while taking a penalty, which I think
the thing with Giroud,
the slip was glorious.
The thing with Giroud is he'll always guarantee goals against teams, and in matches like this one against West Brom, it's whether or not he can do it on a higher level, a consistent basis.
I thought you were going to say a cold with United and Stoke, and I'm pleased you didn't. you went for the upper level. So yeah, West Brom, good win. I mean, we sort of slagged off West Brom there. 17 points. You're going to be safe again this season. If you have results like this, just enjoy it. Don't listen to us.
It's Tony.
Yeah, could I just say a public apology to West Ham fans because I do West Ham. Okay,
wow,
okay, this.
Wow. Well, okay. During Jack's public apology to West Brom fans, he's called you West Ham. With that, we'll move on to Watford. Manchester
I mean, if anything, that's a compliment at the moment because West Ham are 6th.
You can't spin it.
It's
too late. The early kick-off on Saturday saw Watford play Manchester United, and Memphis got himself a goal, which is unusual considering he's not been playing particularly well this season. And then towards the end, it was the Troy Deeney show when he scored a penalty and then scored an own goal, which is disappointing. And actually, because the game was on the telly, I got my first real chance to have a little watch of Watford. And in the first half, I thought they were pretty appalling, and Manchester United only scored 1. Did either of you catch this match on the Saturday?
Yeah,
Be honest,
I saw it.
better. Honesty's the key.
I didn't, so I'm just going to sit here and listen to you guys discuss it like you know what you're talking about.
Okay, Callum, away, Watford.
The most interesting thing I thought about this game was the way that Lingard and Memphis up front sort of played in a similar way to Coutinho and Firmino, because obviously Firmino.
It's Jack's fault. It's Jack's fault.
I've poisoned
I know,
us all.
it's in my mind. But
I poisoned us all.
Obviously, United have got their striker problems as well. And those two, it was very difficult to tell where they were playing because at one point, Lingard would be out on the right, Mata would go out wide, Memphis would drop into the middle, and it was really difficult for a kind of defence as shaky as Watford's to kind of to pick up. I'm surprised United really should have scored a few more than they did after the first half, and in the end. It turned into a kind of, dare I say, a Fergie style last minute ground out champions victory, because they almost ballsed it up and Rojo made a stupid challenge in the area. Nice to see Deeney get another goal. It was a really good pen.
That was on that challenge. That was particularly stupid.
It was, yeah, because for anyone who hasn't seen it, it was kind of the classic. Rojo is on Deeney's back. Was it Deeney or Igalo? It was one of the two, and he was.
It was Igalo.
And he was just on his back, shielding the ball. He didn't need to make a challenge because Smalling was coming in to take it, and he made a silly challenge. It was quite soft, but it was obvious the touch was there.
It was very South American.
I feel like
Rojo. I'm going to win this ball, and I'll go through you to get it, and then he just didn't get the ball.
I feel like Rojo is. He's quite prone to those. But
he reminds me of quite your traditional South American centre back, a little bit rough around the edges.
To me, it makes. I now realise why Argentina play him at left back.
Yeah,
because he's less of a bother at left back, so it seems to make more sense. I guess Manchester United will take it. Another win. Again, not overly impressive, not particularly good, but another win. And
Can I just say that's the first goal Watford have conceded in the first half of a game at Vicarage Road since against Blackpool in January.
Thank you. Well,
Great fact for you there. Great fact.
That's the first half goal they've scored since January.
Yeah.
At Vicarage Road.
But that's very impressive.
Especially in the Premier League.
It's November the 23rd. That's very good. Do you know what?
Shame it's against Blackpool, wasn't it? Really,
I think Watford fans were disappointed they didn't bring out sort of more quality, and that seemed to be what it was for me. Just wasn't as much quality. Manchester United had a couple of chances to make the difference and did.
De Gea and Smalling were fantastic again. It's in the running water here about Smalling. Do you think he's the best English centre half at the moment? I think he probably is.
He's the most in form. I think technically John Stones is a better centre back.
Well, yeah,
but in terms of what they're bringing to the table right now, I'm not sure who else you'd even put close to.
Well, I mean, according to Fantasy Football, Dele Alli's a defender, so I guess he's got to be in the discussion, hasn't he?
Is he?
Really?
Yeah. There's a little tip for you. I've got.
He's suspended. He's suspended against Chelsea, but.
Oh right. Well, I need to change that, don't I? But there's a tip for your fantasy football lovers. Wow. Dele Alli centre back.
Is he?
Well, he's a defender.
Despite the fact I'm top of the fantasy football league, I still may
join if you haven't.
There. Jack, you're a bit late now, but feel free to join. Yeah, it's only November. Shall we move on from Manchester United Watford? I feel like I want to talk about Jamie Vardy desperately.
Right, let's do it.
Jack, I'm going to pose the question. Callum's written the question. You're going to answer it, okay?
Oh gosh, I've not seen the question.
He did it again. When will it end? Question mark, exclamation point. No, Jamie Vardy.
Oh, okay.
Because you, a couple of weeks ago, went, I don't think he's actually that good. I don't think he can carry this on. He scored 10 in 10 now, so I mean, what are you going to do now?
I know, it's very difficult to argue against it, isn't it? See, I don't know what's come first here, the chicken or the egg, because I don't know if Vardy's playing. Bear with me here. I don't know if Vardy is playing well because the entire Leicester side behind him are playing well, or if Leicester are top of the league because Vardy's playing so well. To begin with, I thought it was that Leicester were carrying Vardy to an extent, and he was he was just kind of the end product guy. But I mean, at what point do you just go, yeah, he's a reason behind their success? Do you know what I mean? Because it is a weird scenario to have a team like Leicester top of the Premier League. I mean, there's a clash of the top two next week. It's Leicester v Manchester United. I mean, I don't know what the odds on that were, being the top two at this time of the year.
I'll be surprised if anyone.
There probably weren't odds on it.
But I think Vardy's run comes to an end against United. I'm sorry.
I actually agree.
Are you calling it?
I agree.
Are you both calling it?
Yeah, I think it's game over.
He won't be my captain next week in fantasy football.
I took him out after 4 weeks, thinking he can't keep this up, and now watch him score every week and just go, well, at least Lukaku's got a couple because he's in my team.
This shows a
Still
bit
top
of
the league though, boys. Still top of the league. Just imagine if he was there.
This shows a bit of lack of knowledge. Is it at home? It's at the KP, isn't it? It's at the King Power.
Jack knows. Jack?
I'm going to say yes because there's a 50-50 chance, and I got a lot more wrong in the quiz earlier.
It is at Leicester, yes, it is at Leicester.
In which case, the odds of him scoring, in my mind, has slightly increased, but I think United are still so good at the back that they might be able to shut Leicester out.
It may well have been the last time Liverpool since Van Gaal's team went to Leicester, but Leicester won 5-3. Do you recall?
Can I just say, do you guys think it's Vardy who's making Leicester play well, or do you think it's Leicester making Vardy look good, or is it a bit of both? I'm just curious of your thoughts.
I think it can be and is the fact it's both. I think Leicester are playing very well, and they know they've got an informed Jamie Vardy, so giving him the opportunity, giving him chances is of paramount importance, and Jamie Vardy, by the same token, knows he's going to get the ball, he knows he's going to get chances, and is taking them.
So I think perfect storm.
Yeah, I mean, and they're top of the league.
It reminds me.
Difference,
it reminds me in a way of the as we'll call it from now on, the nearly season where Suarez was.
No,
I don't like it when you say it. It's okay when I say it,
but where Suarez was kind of inspiring the rest of the team, but the team was still supporting.
Oh, please stop.
Where the team was still supporting him so well. I think one of the reasons Vardy, bringing it back to Leicester, there you go. I think one of the reasons that Vardy's doing so well is because of the kind of the foundations that Nigel Pearson made last season. Just allow him high on confidence, just to do what he wants, in the knowledge that the team behind him and the kind of the base is so solid. And I think Ranieri's been really clever in just not really touching that so much. And just taking what he was given and allowing the players like Mahrez and Vardy to just express themselves.
Jack?
Is there a temptation if you're Leicester at Christmas that you go, right, we're going to go for top four this season, and they spend £20 million on like a few more players?
Lovely link.
This is great link, because we had a question from Matt Skedders on Twitter saying, Leicester, where do you think they're finishing? And who do you think they should sign in January, or who are they signing if need be? So what do you think will happen with that, guys?
I feel like they might play it safe, and I hope they don't, because I think it'll be quite exciting if they go out there and just spend like 20 to 30 million and just gamble.
Can we all make a prediction on where we think Leicester will finish?
Okay.
Yeah, yes, we can. I will go last. Callum?
I think they're only on 28 points now. They've not got a massive squad. I think if they're inside the top 8, that will be a really, really, really good season. So maybe 7th, 7th or 8th.
Jack?
See, I was going to say 6th, but then probably want to go, just say they'll get Champions League football to make a bold claim.
I've said if they get in the top 4, I will do a Leicester City save on YouTube dressed as a fox.
Well, I look forward to that. So I will say 4th, but I do think they'll finish tops. I think 6th is like where they'll end up, there or thereabouts.
I said 7th. Well, I would say 7th. I also did a little funny tweet at the weekend, which was, I can't wait to see Jamie Vardy get number 21 for England during the Euros and come on for the last 20 minutes of our third group game. I mean, that's going to be good, isn't it? Do we look forward to that? I mean, I certainly do.
Sadly.
Because that's inevitably what's going to happen.
Charlie Austin having to give way.
Now, I would go on to
for Spurs.
Jack, mate, I would go on to Everton Villa now, but I'm just looking down the running order, and it doesn't actually have any notes. It's just capital letters. I think Callum's done this. All it says is Villa shit. So, shall we talk about Everton?
Can I just, Kino, are you bipolar? Because last week you were going on about how well Man City you did against Man City, and it was the best performance in a while, and you were really optimistic. And now we're a week later, and it's 4-0 Everton. It's just like they're shit again. It's just like normality has resumed. The bubble has burst.
I feel like we've just opened up the volcano, and now it's about to erupt. Callum Keane?
It brings it out. I'm not bipolar. It brings it out of you. The Villa do.
Villa are. That's the issue.
Yeah. No. Oh. I mean, I was walking back from university today, thinking, what am I going to say about the Villa on the podcast? And I thought, well, there's not. If you look at our form, it's like loss, draw, loss. There's not much more I can say, because it's just the same every week, and that's all I could really think about was that caption
Jack,
that I've got in the running order.
Jack, this is great, Jack. When Villa don't quite stay up on the final day, we can call it their nearly season, can't we?
Excellent. Can I just say, I love the fact that God, after the game, has come out and gone, yeah, that was a step backwards. It's like, yeah, it was. What are you going to do about it?
It was a little. We had a little shuffle forwards against Man City, and like a little tentative little shuffle, and then we've just been knocked backwards by Everton, who were brilliant.
I don't really care about Villa.
No,
I'll be honest with you.
Honestly, Ben, I don't. I don't.
Okay, Deulofeu, Barkley, Kone, and Lukaku looks like 4 of the best players the Premier League has ever seen this weekend, which is a terrifying thought on a lot of levels.
I mean, they're not quite Balassi, Zaha, and Palace's lineup, but yeah, I'll take
punching in Shamak. I'll try and finish it off for you.
There we go.
Not that they ever played as a 4, but Barkley got 2, Lukaku got 2, and Everton. They're an interesting team because no one's really sure what we're going to get each week. I think we've said that previously as well, that you're not quite sure what you're going to get from Everton. But if they keep playing like that, especially at home, they'll be. If we keep talking about Liverpool and Tottenham as these top 4
I've just seen they're ahead of Liverpool in the table. When did that happen?
Wow,
that's come out of nowhere, hasn't it?
I think all you need to know about my views on the Villa and Everton was that Barkley and Lukaku were both in my fantasy football team this week.
That's great.
That's the confidence I had in the Villa.
Bankers. A couple of bankers there for you.
Do I make a shocking confession that I had Sagna and Kolarov in my defence? Shocking, isn't it? I mean, I was very happy when Liverpool scored 4. I'm going to be honest.
Yeah, Joe Hart. Mistakes were made. So yeah,
we didn't discuss this. Sorry, we didn't discuss Liverpool. Did you hear Joe Hart swear into the mic when Skirtle scored the 4th?
No, but if Martin Skirtle's scoring against you, you're right to be annoyed.
But he levered it in and it was showing a replay, and all you heard was I think it was Joe Hart. It was definitely sounded like him just go, for fuck's sake. I can't do a Joe Hart accent, so I'm just going to put a slightly different accent to my own. But it was very funny.
this isn't really. I know this is an audio podcast. I'm just going to post a picture in the chat of Villa's average positions. Now,
I'm laughing already. I've not seen it yet.
Why
There's
is it
six players in a line.
Why is it like a line? So for those that can't see it, they've got a goalkeeper. He's luckily in the area,
and the centre halves are quite clearly marked where they should be.
The centre halves are never actually in line, which I quite like. The one's way deeper than the other. Then you've kind of got like 6 players just in a line. Who's number 40?
No. I think the thing is, and we'll put this, we'll link this in the podcast description. You'll see it on YouTube, hopefully. I think the only thing that is out of position here is Alan Hutton, which is number 21 on the far right hand side.
What worries me, Callum, is you've lost 4-0, and Alan Hutton is, if he's not the second highest presence on the pitch, he's definitely the third.
I've just tweeted a picture of it with no context. I'm just interested to see what people reply with. So it's just got the Villa badge and then the average positions, but it doesn't actually say that.
I just saw it on. Credit to the BBC. I saw it on their website. You look at Everton's. It looks quite obvious. Like they've had a lot of the ball and they've been able to sort of play in and around themselves. Whereas Villa have created a very strange defensive wall just throughout the pitch. That's.
I'm trying to squint and see if it does anything. It looks a bit like an arrow pointing to the left.
Yeah, almost like a sword in between. If you take the 18, Jack, that's the handle of the sword. Then you've got
I can see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's 2 dots either side of the sword.
What it's done is cut through the Villa team like a knife through butter.
I like to believe at the start of the game,
like a Delafeu through Richardson.
I like to believe at the start of the game, guard sat down and gone, right guys, we're playing the sword today, and he just draws a stick sword, like just 2 lines intersect, and goes, that's where I want. Yeah.
He came out quite damningly and just said, "Oh, we need to be a bit more like Everton." In after the game.
That's not analysis.
That was what he said.
Sorry. We need to be more like Everton. I mean, I agree, maybe you do need to start winning 4-0, but that's not really. I would, Callum, I'll be honest, that's not what I want to hear. They're going
to get the last 10 Everton games to just watch them in training.
I've been hearing things.
Alan, I want you to be our Delafeu, okay?
I've been hearing
on the right.
Ben, I've been hearing things I don't want to hear from the Villa for the last 5.5 years.
What Remy Gard has effectively said is you should have appointed Roberto Martinez because he is a great manager.
We tried to.
All the tricks.
We tried to a few years ago. It turned us down.
You did. Yeah. Who did you go for instead, Mr. Lambert? I feel like it was Lambert.
Well, I think it was probably McLeish.
Oh dear, that long ago. Anyway, so yeah, we'll come up.
We should say for Villa. We should say for Everton, I think if Barkley and Lukaku can keep up the kind of form they're in, and even to an extent players like Koke and Delafeu.
Kone.
Sorry, I'm half asleep here. Kone, you're correct. But I think if those players can keep up their form, they are players capable of finishing like top 6 in the Premier League. I think last year was a very weird season for Everton, and I think this year. All I'll say is,
if they keep playing well, you'll stay in Kuno's fantasy team. Let's move on then. We'll cover one more game and then we'll brush over a few of the others. Swansea 2, Bournemouth 2. Bournemouth took a 2-0 lead and then Swansea fought back. I tell you what, when that Bournemouth second went in, there were some disgruntled noises in Wales.
This doesn't
Jack, you
do
brought up
much.
Swansea a few weeks ago.
I did. I was like, I said at the time I was a little bit worried Gary Monk not doing great at the moment. Could he be the next manager to be sacked? And then I think 2 weeks ago before the international break, it was, he's got 1 game left to save his job. I mean, is a home draw against, is it bottom of the table, Bournemouth? No, third from bottom.
Who's bottom?
We know who's bottom, Jack. We know who's bottom, mate.
But is that the kind of result that gives him any job security? Probably not really. I guess the way they fought back, might be a silver lining there. But let's get this straight. This is a Bournemouth team missing some of their big players that they spent a lot of money on, and for a team like Swansea, I think for Swansea they should be aiming for top half really.
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
It's a performance where I don't think it does anything.
It's if Monk is to go, then this is just really like a stay of execution. I don't think it's done anything for either making him more likely to get the sack or the other way around. It looked like a team that was. They knew that, like you say, they knew that they should be better than Bournemouth, and they ended up coming back and scoring those 2 goals. But the way that it had to happen, it just showed how low on confidence they are.
We did a prediction for where we thought Leicester would finish. I want you to tell me how many points you think Swansea will get from their next 4 games. They play Liverpool away, Leicester at home, Manchester City away. Manchester City away, and then West Ham at home. And West Ham have been pretty good away from home this season. So Liverpool, Leicester, City, West Ham.
I want to just go controversial and say they'll get 7.
Wow.
Well,
Callum?
I think a win from any of those 3 points would be really, really good. And
Leicester's going to be the tough one, isn't it?
And part
Stands
of
out,
it,
team at top of the table.
and part of it is a bit rubbish because Monk's in such a bad spot, and now he's got these 4 fixtures that if they get spanked to someone like City, he'll get the sack. When really it's not really that like representative of how they think, the board think that they should be doing. But if there's a kind of shocking result in one of those 4, he might go. Well, really, it's not. I don't think it's really that fair that he should go at that point. You'd expect the board of Swansea to be a little bit more kind of sort of weigh it up a bit more than that, but.
Bizarrely, if they get beat by Leicester, and it seems bizarre, doesn't it, because Leicester are top, but if they get beat 3 or 4 by Leicester, I think Swansea's fans will start to get really quite upset. I think the games they wear at Liverpool and City, they're traditionally quite tough games, aren't they? Whereas if you lose at home to Leicester and West Ham, teams that you'd expect to potentially be above, you dare say as a Swansea fan, you'd be wanting to come at 8th this season, then I think there'll be a hell of a lot more pressure. So yeah, I think I asked you how many points. I think they might get 2, maybe a point against one of the big boys, then a point at home to West Ham. But you're clutching at straws a bit, aren't you? So it's a tough run of 4 games. Hence I brought it up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone all right?
Yeah, sorry, I'm just nodding along.
Still with us? Good.
I've just come across a fantastic article on the BBC website. This is what happens when we record a podcast.
Okay.
It's about weird and wonderful football records.
We'll be back in a minute, listeners.
Well, should we save that for next week, or do you want to?
Yeah, I can give you a little fact here about Jean Koltak, who scored 16 goals for the South Pacific country Vanuatu, who scored who won 46-0 against Micronesia.
Okay, stop. Boys, has this gone off the rails a little bit?
Well memed. Right, should we go into some questions from the viewers, or do we want to cover El Clasico, because we have it written down?
Yes.
But we have run for quite a long time here, so I feel like...
No, Jack, don't ruin the show, people.
I want to read more about Micronesia
Callum, we have just gone past the hour mark, my friend. So anything
let's
happens from beyond this point,
let's talk about the Clasico. Let's keep it together, yeah?
Let's keep it together.
I feel like this is... when you have like a class at school and after the hour mark, it all just goes a bit... Well, the class normally ends, but if it goes straight into lunch, this is now lunchtime of the podcast.
I love that. The class normally ends. We're just going to carry on. The Clasico happened this weekend. It was a game that, like before it, I thought actually the team that Barca put out might come a little bit unstuck against this Madrid side, especially at the Bernabeu. But no, it didn't. History nearly repeats itself as Barcelona score 4 at the Bernabeu. With goals from Suarez, Neymar, the big boys. Iniesta scored a cracker. That's probably my favourite goal, actually.
I loved it. It was so sweet. The back heel layup, and it just came perfectly to him.
Great.
Yeah, it was the second best back heel of the weekend after Emre Can's.
And Andre Ayew as well.
Ayew did one as well. Maybe it was the third best back heel of the weekend. I'll take it all back. But obviously there was a little press conference by the man in charge at Madrid, who just likes to talk whenever he gets the opportunity. He said that Benitez has only just joined, his job's safe, etc.
Oh yeah, that's happened, hasn't it, during the show? We should point out we're recording on a Monday, and there's been the press conference, and he has been given the vote of confidence.
The dreaded vote of confidence.
I mean, let's be honest, Ancelotti had that.
You can't... I think every manager in the last 10 years at Madrid has been given the dreaded vote of confidence at some point.
When the president of Real Madrid gives the manager a vote
that's
of
like
confidence,
an ultimatum, really, isn't
borrowed time, let me tell you.
What was most interesting about that was towards the end of the game that the Madrid fans were doing the hanky, the waving their hankies, and it wasn't so much, the abuse wasn't directed so much at Benitez, more at Perez himself.
I was going to say, I saw an interesting poll online, and it was like 40% of the people who voted in the poll blamed Perez, and it was only 30% blamed Rafa, and another 30% blamed the players. Like, it is quite split.
Well, Rafa's only... I think people can recognise that Benitez has only just come in there, and while they're being successful, Perez... quite shocking way of running a club, in my opinion, is fine. They don't care. In the same way that Abramovich, really. But once they go a few seasons without really performing that well, and they go back to maybe a kind of what some people see as an unfashionable manager in Spain, it turns back onto Perez. Talking about the game, Graham Hunter said after this that it was arguably the best, or better, than the infamous 6-2 performance under Pep's Barca in 2009 at the Bernabeu, which really kind of set the tone for the next 3 or 4 years of Barca's dominance. And Dani Alves actually said that too after the game, that he thought it was a more complete performance. Barca were without Messi as well for 2/3 of the game.
That's just it, isn't it? That's the ridiculous part of that, really. They've done it without him.
For the goal for Suarez's first goal, which was masterfully created, it was about 22 passes before he slotted it in.
Sculpture of a goal.
It was. It just that was like a kind of a microcosm of the rest of the game. They were fantastic. And what's funny is that obviously a lot of talk's been about Messi being out. Before he was out 5 or 6 weeks ago, they were 1 point behind Real in the league. And during that time, Suarez has kicked on and Neymar's kicked on, and they're now 5 points ahead with this win. So I think it looks good for the future, with questions over how much longer Messi will be the centre of the team. It was a fantastic game and one of the best performances I can think of from Enrique's Barca since he joined.
Can I just say, and this is something that I think is a Real Madrid thing, but Real Madrid's fans, they got on the back of their managers so quickly.
Sorry, Jack. Madrid fans getting on the back of a manager very quickly.
But I feel like they have this weird mentality where it's like they should win every game. It's like you're playing against Barcelona. Granted, I think they should put more of a competition than they've done here, but they've lost 2 games so far this season, and suddenly, because one was against Sevilla and then they've lost again here against Madrid. Against Barcelona, granted in a horrific fashion, suddenly the manager's head's on the line.
The thing is,
I just think that's absolutely mad.
The thing is,
but Real Madrid are mad, Jack.
That's
kind of what you're forgetting.
This is the thing. They kind of do expect every game to win every game. Sort of just historically at the club, it's kind of like it's sort of almost an extension of like the Spanish government. Real Madrid is.
I always like Barcelona and Real Madrid because I feel like they're kind of polar opposites. I feel like Real Madrid's kind of approach is to sign superstars, to have superstar managers, and that is they basically just get all the best players that they can. Whereas I feel for Barcelona there is a little bit more of there's a system there that's drilled into the players. As much as they'll go out there and sign the likes of Neymar and Suarez, I feel like they're a team that has a lot more of an identity than Real Madrid.
It's creation versus design, isn't it? It's like Barcelona are creating magic, whereas Madrid have got this vision of we're just going to sign everyone. That's going to be our like they're not going to develop on work. What's the phrase I'm thinking of? Sort of working players through a youth system. That's a better word for it. That's not their focus. When was the last time you saw a Madrid player come through their academy and flourish? I'm struggling to think of one. Barcelona seems to have 1 or 2 every year.
I mean, they've got
all of a sudden are just in their first team. Sergio Roberto being the one at the moment.
I was really surprised to see the way that they set up with him on the right of the front three. It was almost kind of like a Fabregas for Spain. And also where Fabregas played for Barcelona, but and although he's sort of more of a conventional central midfielder, he played so well there. It's interesting that you talk about Madrid's academy. I mean, Carvajal played. He came through, went off to Leverkusen, then came back. There's like Hesse now, and that's about it. Really, it's a very good point, and something that they've just got used to since the kind of Galactico period, like around turn of the millennium.
I think that plays into the fans thinking we should win every game, because it's like they're buying the superstars of world football, the ones that are available at least. I mean, some of them are in the Barcelona team, but there comes a point for Madrid that you can't beat a team that have got a Neymar and Suarez in such good form, especially when you've got sort of a few attacking players that just aren't prepared to put the same amount of work in.
I was going to say they look very, very lazy. I think it was, I can't remember which goal it was, but Modric gave the ball away. It was like 4 Real Madrid players all offside.
Well, yeah, that's a good point actually, because Kroos and Modric.
It's in the chat if you want to watch it.
Kroos,
so not an audio feature, but it's an interesting point for you to watch and talk about it as you watch it.
Kroos and Modric were made to look like amateurs in that game. They were like shockingly bad. That was the thing that really kind of was the biggest contrast for me in terms of the two teams, was just how outclassed their midfield were, and also how, and relating this back to the Premier League, how sort of lost Gareth Bale looked. And it'll be interesting to see come the summer whether it's Bale or Ronaldo Madrid let go, because that's really the thing now, and it'll be interesting to see whether they decide to stick with Bale to kind of hope that he can carry on through with the promise and the price that they put on his head, or if they will give Ronaldo another couple of years, maybe.
I think the Manchester United hope is that one of them will leave and they'll be getting.
I think they'll be on one of those.
Bale's ruled himself out though of a Premier League return. I think this week, today.
I've heard it too many times to believe it.
I actually think for Real Madrid they'd actually benefit more from letting Ronaldo go.
Oh well,
I feel like there'd be less of a central focus and they could start actually building a team. Because for far too long, I think Ronaldo has just been... I know, obviously, when Ronaldo's at the team, you do that.
He's got the Ballon d'Or at the moment. I mean, it's difficult to say
it's
that.
It's a long season, and in Spain, with the two clubs, it can change so quickly. But it will be interesting to see.
I think the way I draw the comparison is, if Ronaldo was injured, there's no way in hell I'd see Real Madrid going to Barcelona and scoring 4, whereas that's exactly what Barcelona have done, but without their key player in Messi. And as much as Barcelona have Suarez and Neymar, like you look at the Real Madrid team, they've got players like Jimmy Rod, Bale, Benzema.
Jimmy Rod,
they're not bad players.
I think the thing with Madrid is though that Ronaldo's got 13 and 16 in Europe and the league. And it's just a bit like, you want to get rid of that?
That's low for him.
Bale's not even close to that. 13 to 16. What, that's to say that's nothing?
That's for Ronaldo, that is nothing. Yeah.
Average. Get rid of him.
He got
past his
48
best.
and 35, but 8 and 12. He's even taking that away from Madrid. Have you got a player that's going to do it?
No.
I'm not so sure. So yeah, I think so we've sort of got into La Liga there, folks, for the first time. We will be talking more about the Champions League as the knockout stages and the groups come to an end.
So yeah, we've got obviously the last couple of group stage matches are, there's some this week. I think, is that the last round? I think there's another one to go after that. We will do a kind of a wrap up of the group stages. The reason we haven't really gone into it so much is because there's so much Champions League football going on with the groups and so many matches that it's quite difficult to cover everything that we want to cover, really, with the Premier League as well.
Unless you want a 3-hour show.
But we'll do a wrap up of the Champions League groups, and then I think as the knockout continues for the rest of the season, I think we'll start looking at it quite a lot more and see how the English teams go as well. Focusing on them.
Yeah. Or don't go. I mean, when they're all knocked out,
don't go, yeah.
Yeah, I think that pretty much brings us to the end of our sort of main section. Have you got any questions?
Well, it depends how much longer you want to go. We've mentioned questions and we've kind of worked them into the show. I'm not...
Is there any great questions that stand out?
Actually,
that would be on a GCSE exam.
I'm actually going to save one, I think, for next time.
Don't know where I've gone with that.
Because... and I'll give him a little shout out. Tomislav Benko mentioned this. We could do another little mini show on this. Really, what do you think about the 4 years suspension of Arijan Ademi, the Dynamo Zagreb player who failed a drugs test 2 weeks ago? Has subsequently been banned for 4 years. He played in the game that Arsenal lost against Zagreb. And obviously Arsene Wenger today has come out quite publicly and condemned it and made quite a big thing about UEFA's lack of action on it. I think we could probably talk about that for another half an hour, but we will return to that point. Don't worry, I've got it saved, and we will talk about that later because it's a very interesting issue that we could probably do a little bit more seriously about drugs in football. But I think
good. Thanks, Callum.
Yeah.
All right. Right. I just want to see if Jack's here.
I am here. Don't worry.
He is here. He left the thing.
I didn't know. Right then, folks, I do think that brings us to the end of this week's For The Fans. Again, check us out on iTunes, For The Fans Show, on youtube.com/ForTheFansShow, at For The Fans Show on Twitter, and you can find us on the website, ForTheFansShow.com, where you can get the show on iTunes, YouTube, and anywhere else you'd quite like it to be. So yes, that brings us to the end. Callum Keane, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you very much, Ben.
We're at the space. Jack, cheers, mate.
No worries. I don't feel like I deserve a thanks. It's not been my finest hour, this show.
What, you think you've had good hours?
Occasionally. I feel like this one, we've gone off the rails, we've crashed this time. We've not managed to get back on them.
On that bombshell, we'll see you next time. We love with care from We Love to Benji. I'll see you again. Goodbye.